Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Doing a little weekend roundup. So, obviously, a pretty busy week and weekend, and we got a pretty busy week ahead. So, got our Schumacher Cougar 2 out at Moore. Did a little racing and didn't end up where we wanted to be, being BQ, but did pull off the B main win, and that's encouraging for that car because, like I said, we never really practiced it. We kind of got the transmission adjusted to where it needed to be and threw it down, and off we went. Well, like I said, if it wasn't for a pop ball cup and some other unfortunate stuff, we probably would have made the A, but we were relegated to the B with our two DNQs and only our one hot race at but I'm going to be taking the Cougar back out to more again. But for right now, it's kind of sitting in the back because we got a couple projects we got to get through. So the first project is the B3. Should have parts here on Monday. I did have to order a couple parts last night. I thought I had the right 13 millimeter spring cups, and I don't. All I have is like the 10 millimeter talls, so I had to reorder a set of those to get the adjustability I need for the B3. And ordered from A-Main, so it should be here next year or whenever A-Main decides to get them out. But I should have the rear shock tower in and some miscellaneous parts from Go Fast here this week. Get that thing dialed in. The rear shocks are done, so I can get pretty much the rear shocks done and set up and at least check droop and all that stuff. So that should be moving on our B3. And then paint a body. So I got the fan RC reproduction body. We'll get that painted. And maybe it'll be ready by next weekend. So if it's ready by next weekend, I may take it as a backup because I love the Cougar. Cougar's my new favorite vintage two-wheel drive buggy by far. But I know many of you were waiting on this, and you see what's sitting in front of us. We got some Losi goodness coming to the channel. So, along with our xx4, we have our XX buggy down there. So we did order parts. We do have them coming. Unfortunately, the XX buggy parts are later than our xx4 parts. All of our XX4 parts, I think all I needed was really a rear wing mount. So we're going to start doing some videos on this and tearing into it. If you look over here, did get our buggy reproduction body. So that and the wing as well. So we'll get those mounted up. And buggy bodies have always been really pretty solid reproduction bodies. So window lines and stuff are all pretty clear. So not a big deal there. Got our slipper marked. Yeah, not a bad deal. So we will. Oh, there's like a little blum area right there. I don't know. Huh. Well, we'll see. I don't even know if I'll paint that up. But with this, we are going to rebuild the shocks, clean everything up. He said he did have new belts in it. I am going to get rid. I'll just pop this off. I am going to start doing a couple little things here and there on this, and I think one of the biggest things is obviously getting the electronics out of it. We're going to get rid of this huge servo saver, and we are going to get a much smaller servo horn on there. So that's a little bit more appropriate. So yeah, I mean, everything's there. It looks good. I don't know why the slipper is like tightened as much as it is. It's down there. So we may have to do some work and get a new slipper spring and stuff. We will see. I'll talk to Larry Doe. Larry ran one of these at Vintage Clash and kind of see what he sent me a picture of his layout. So that helped quite a bit. And he kind of did what I was thinking. He has a fan here, his LiPo shorty here, servo, transponder, receiver. speed controller on this side. And yeah, but a little cleaning up. I think this should be in pretty good shape. It just looks dirty. It doesn't really look like it's really been abused or anything. Everything looks in fairly decent shape, and I haven't had the chance to really go through this too much. So obviously on the Losi's you have some inspection windows, so got our pinion in there, and you can check your gear mesh. We'll be pulling off the top cover just to check the belts and everything, so we'll undo a number of those screws just to see if we can get in there and see what condition our belts are in, make sure, see if they were replaced or not on that. So everything else looks pretty good, just needs to be, and everything's free. So I think really what we need to do is just pull it apart and start going through it a little bit, clean stuff up, refresh things. And this should be a decent car to run. So we'll see. Man, this servo savers, that thing's humongous. So we'll get a different one on there. I think what we'll do is, yeah, I think a ProTech, like 19 will fit. It'll bring this down a little bit. Maybe align it a little bit more. We'll see, but we'll start doing that. Some cool graphite stuff, like besides the chassis. It looks like the front tower is graphite. I think the rear tower is just a regular tower. Like I said, it's got the updated bulkhead. We got a new one in package and a couple other things. But yeah, we'll start working on this thing. And like I said, I think the biggest thing we'll do is just get it. We'll start by just getting it cleaned up and going from there. Pulling the electronics out and seeing where those stand. And then what we'll do is start looking for some upgrades. I mean, all the UJs and stuff seem, the front's got CVDs, UJs in the back. We'll just clean everything up. We'll replace what needs to be replaced, which looks to be very little, and rebuild the shocks. The discs feel pretty good, but we will pull those out and inspect those along with the belts. Clean it up. I don't know if we can find these rims anymore. Maybe someone makes a reproduction. If you know, let me know. But shit, the glue's so old we might be able to acetone these a little bit and reuse these, because these actually aren't too horrible of a shape. I mean, they'd make fine runner wheels to mount some slicks to, and run some J Concept Smoothie 2s like we normally do on our cars. So like I said, guys, just a little weekend roundup. Had a good time at Moore. Got a lot of work on our B3s. So we do have our our junkyard B3 is on eBay, and getting rid of that thing. It's up to a whopping $78. Don't buy that thing. Just don't. Anyway, we'll get our B3 finished here pretty quick. Like I said, you can see I'm working on the shocks, and that's when I noticed I had to order a shorter shock shaft for whatever reason. There was only one front shock shaft. I bought these used off a guy from Moore. Thanks, Zach. And it had pistons, it had everything, but for whatever reason it was missing one of the front shock shafts. So I'd order one of those, and like I said, cups. But I was able to get those all rebuilt and basically together last night, so that helped me out quite a bit. Got springs and everything ready to go. So using basically the same shock package that we have on our B7 as well as our B5 that run 13 millimeter shocks. And we don't have any big bores on our vintage cars, but this is going to be the first vintage car we have with big bores on it. So we're going to see how they work. It's kind of a theory. I don't know if they work that well. I do think the 12 millimeter big bores seem to work a little bit better at Moore for whatever reason. They seem to, we were kind of talking about this last night. The 12 millimeter seem to react a little bit better. They don't feel so, I would call it lazy. The 13 mils, I think, are a little plusher as far as like jumping and landing. But that it's minimal. And So we'll see. We may do some 12 mil big bores and go that route. So I know the guy I talked to last night. I forget his name because I'm horrible with names, but he runs 12 mils on his B3, and he says that does pretty well. But I know on the 4-wheel drives I do prefer the 13s over the 12s because I did have 12s on my 870. I think for the 4-wheel drives they do a little bit better, but for the 2-wheel drives, I mean, obviously, as you can see from our Cougar out at Moore, the small bores don't do a bad job when they're sprung correctly. They have the right weight and the right pistons, and I've never been a huge suspension setup guy. I've gotten a lot more into it lately because it requires a lot more attention to try to get the older cars around the track without having to go to big bores or something like that. So I've been paying a lot more attention to suspension setup, and I got the Cougars, and I think I got my RC10s about as well as they can be with a small package, but we're going to get a big bore package together for the B3 and run that. And like I said, who knows, we may toss small bores on it for comparison reasons. I can take them off something I have. The only problem with the B3 is it uses a 0.89 front, and no one's reproducing those. So it's, they do 0.56 and they do 0.71s and 1.02s and 1.32s, but no one makes B3 shocks, front shocks. So hence why we're relegated to big bores. I wasn't going to search around or paint an arm and a leg for them. So we'll go with big bores on that for now, and finish ordering our electronics on Monday for the B3. But once that's going, like I said, our Cougar's in good shape, so didn't break anything last night that we didn't need. So I think the only thing I got to do is replace the spur gear because that's getting kind of chewed up, especially from when the motor shifted last night. But the spur gear made it through the B main, and it is still super quiet. So we'll see. Maybe just run that till it doesn't run anymore. But this week, look for a lot of Losi updates. So really the xx4 is going to be the main car we're concentrating on because, like I said, the parts for the buggy aren't going to be here till later this week, and all these parts show up on Monday. We will get our B3 finished, so probably one video left on that once we get all the shocks and stuff set up. But again, I don't get parts from that from A main till the end of the week, so it doesn't make much sense to do much more than where it's at. So I'll wait for those parts to come in because I'm too lazy to drive up to Moore today and get parts, even though I probably could. So we're going to do that. But like I said, I think it's time to get into the Losi fan base and start working on these. So just looking this over, I haven't even cleaned the dirt off it or anything from when I got it. So like I said, I think the first thing is pull the electronics out, pull the wheels off and stuff, and start giving it a good clean to see what we're dealing with here, and if we got a good base or what parts need to be replaced. I can at least tear it down, get anything on order I need to order. Rear wing mount obviously broken off, but got one of those, and I know Larry Doe's got some parts for these, so if I do run into a situation where I'm looking for something, I'll reach out to Larry, but I'm hoping not. I'm hoping I can kind of get through this thing without too much hustle. Like I said, it doesn't look like it was used a whole lot, but I mean, it's got a little wear and tear, but like the bumpers aren't really too bad. Chassis not that bad either. The arms have a little wear, but not too much. So I'm hoping that kind of bodes well for the rest of the car, and we can get this thing cleaned up pretty easy and get it back on the track. So, yeah, I'm excited about the Losi stuff. Like I said, the only worry I have about these cars is, obviously they're not reproducing parts. I know some companies out there are starting to. I think Dragon Punch is making some parts. Perhaps Fan will. I know GP3D is. So, but that's ordering from Australia. So we'll see. But again, guys, wanted to give an update. Let me know if you're excited to see the Losis on the channel, and like, comment, subscribe down below, and we'll see you on the next one.